Alright. Welcome back to Boruto Anime Review, episode number 243. This time we're reading the 243rd episode of the anime, Where I Belong. This one, like most of the series, is completely original stuff. Now, I should point out, though, that the teaser for this episode was completely different. How, you might ask? Well, it looked like Izuki was like being turned evil. He was going to attack Boruto. And they get this episode like... What, they put the wrong teaser up? Because it looks like they did. Also, this episode has no opening title sequence. They removed it for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, this is probably the first episode of the entire series. There is no open title sequence. There is, however, a new ending for this one. I'll get to that later on. So... episode starts out with basically them figuring out what the secret plan is. They decode it and figure out it's origami. So the plan is to attack the Hidden Mist Village. Now, they don't know the reason for this. Of course, the viewers kind of know. The reason why they attacked the Hidden Mist Village because what happened to Cyrene last episode. That's literally the reason why. So basically, Bart thinks they should help out. Kagura thinks they probably should, but then Sada agrees, like, yeah, I should help out because Hidden Mist is our ally, so why not help out? And of course, Kagura agrees, but he wants the three members, Seven Swords, to basically agree to it too. Bonton basically agrees, but terms are simply this. Like, because all they got for the hard work they got so far is just 3 years off their sentence. He's like, okay, what are your terms? Full pardon. Well, for full acquittal, she's basically... And he's like, okay, I'll try again. Like, really? You really gonna try? I'm gonna appeal to Lord Chotoro himself. Yeah. The Masakage, giving them full pardon. He's like, okay. And Hibiki, he's like, is that okay with you? He's like, that's fine. Yep. And it is brought up last episode that she is trusting of him despite the fact she had just tried to kill him 2 episodes ago. Yep. So, and they agree to go to this certain village. What village is it? Now, the whole thing, this whole plot, this episode, is completely different what they teased last episode. Yeah, it's all like, okay, did they forget to do that one and just had to change their mind? But Isuka is himself, he himself is not in this episode. There's one mention of him by the shipbuilder who makes, probably is going to be his last appearance in the series. Like, okay, prepare to leave. And basically, the refugees go on a different boat, and we do briefly see a battle sequence that started last episode, where Chotoro try to get the Fugu to let's say, stand down, and the guy who's there is like, no, we're not going to stand down, we're basically going to hold out here. And that's just one tiny bit there. Yeah, Chotoro in the episode again, 2 episodes in a row, and at least last episode, he got a couple lines of dialogue. This episode, he got no dialogue. Yes, Chotoro, the current Masakage, has got 0 lines. Yeah. So it's like, we begin this episode the same way we began last episode with this big humongous battle, where it's barely progressed. We're like, oh, the Fugu just ram into each other. Like, okay. Yeah, no wonder why the ship's falling apart. Yeah, it's a very brief thing. It is like barely 30 seconds of screen time, and then we cut back to this. So they go to this village. We have Team 5, Team 7. I thought this was Team 40. Turns out this is actually Team 5. My mistake. It's not Team 10, obviously, so it's Team 5. Okay. So they go to this village, and it turns out this actually is Kagura's childhood village. He wasn't born in this village, per se. He grew up here. And the reason why that he grew up here because of basically the sentiment that the Hidden Mist Village had against them, due to being the grandson of the 3rd Masakage. Of course, some people in the village do not know the fact he was manipulated by Manuchia. That's the reason why he made the village into a reign of terror, was because he was being manipulated. Yeah, of course, they also don't bring up the fact he was also a Jurjiki. Yes, he was actually the host of the Three-Tailed Turtle. Yes, the very same speech that popped up for a story arc in Naruto Shippuden. Like that factoid is not brought up here. Like they're making the fact that third Mazakage, terrible person, doesn't bring the fact he's a host of Jirajiki. Nope, don't bring that up at all. I don't know why, but they do. But they don't do that for some reason. So, in the case of basically like, okay, so they go to the village. They get there pretty quickly too. Like first they go by boat. They spend like maybe like 10 seconds in this boat, and they're there. Okay, so then they walk through some mountains, and then they're at the village. Like this little walk took like barely 90 seconds. No, seriously, this took up like 90 seconds of screen time. On the boat, the very same boat they captured 5 episodes ago. They go on the same boat, they go to the village, they get there, they find out the whole thing with Kagura and Shadow Village. And so they inform the village. Apparently they don't contact the village chief. Like, does this village not have a chief or something? They got some townspeople involved, okay. Like, you would think that Kagura would basically ask the village chief about this. No, he just has no more people, he just happily know. Like, okay, and by the way, this is a little girl. And this whole thing with Kawanaki in this episode, they reveal something that it's never explicitly revealed in the manga. Or apparently Himawari is taking sort of a liking to him, so like a big brother, because of his hair. Yeah, everybody loves his hair. So they calls him Big Brother the whole episode. He's wondering what the heck, he's basic. Now, okay, so Kaga divides everybody into 2 separate teams. Where he basically has Team 7 and Bantan and Kuro deal with defending the village, while Team 5 and Hibiki go destroy 2 bridges that Buntan just brought up. That we already saw these bridges. So, and we see that we see Kuro chopping all the logs. And of course, it's mentioned by 2 people who know Kagura. He says, "Oh, you're lonely. We'll help out." Yeah, he's kind of embarrassed by that because his village was destroyed by the pirates of the story arc. Yep. We do see that Mitsuge and Boruto get a chance to pull some logs. And just by funny coincidence, Butan and Sadara are pulling logs too. I thought this was kind of hilarious, given the fact when these two first met, they fought each other. Yeah, they got into a serious fight. What happened during the end of that original story arc. Meanwhile, though, we have Meo Lee destroying a bridge with a big kick. Not a bad idea to do. They end up ripping his pants too. And here's the thing. The guys are kind of embarrassed for him. Apparently, Hibiki has got no problem with this at all. She's got barely a reaction to seeing a guy's boxers. So apparently, he took time to give himself a blanket, cover himself up, and takes off his jumpsuit that he wears, and tries to sew it up. So Hibiki just happily sews up for him. And he's blushing in front of her. And by the way, she does not notice that he is blushing at her. So, my theory is that Meo Lee has got a crush on her. Yes, I think that's probably the case, despite the fact you probably think, what about her and Kuro? It's more like a brother-sister relationship. I highly doubt there's anything romantic between the two of them at all. I highly doubt it. It's never really explicitly revealed because some characters don't get that much development. But Meo Lee having a crush on someone from the Hidden Mist, like, wow, that is actually something from the previous generation where one of the current generation characters falls for somebody from another village. Well, as a matter of fact, it happened for 2 people, Shikamaru and Shoji. Where Shikamaru's wife, Tamari, is from the Hidden Sand Village, and Shoji's wife is from the Hidden Cloud Village. Yeah. Yep. A lot of people still question, who the heck is Meo Lee's mom? And I highly doubt it's a Hidden Mist Village. So, yeah, it's weird though Hibiki has no reaction to seeing not only Meo Lee's boxers, but him blushing at her. Yeah, because no reaction. It's like, okay, I get the fact she's got emotions, but it's almost like she just basically turns him off and basically just keeps him under very good control. Heck, I would not be surprised though if Meo Lee, if somehow he accidentally confesses his feelings for her at the end of the story arc. That would be shocking. Given the fact he's basically, it seems like though a lot of the times like very deeply caring about her. He's worried about her safety. I'm like, she's a member of the new Seven Swordsmen, and yet he's worried about her. Worried about her because I don't know. Maybe he inherited sort of a gentlemanly charm from his father. Aside from the fact they inherited the same exact personality and the same parents, by the way. Yep. So she fixes pants, and by the way, this little moment never brought up again in the episode. I think it would be kind of hilarious if, in fact, Dinky brought up the bar to say, Mel Lee ripped his pants, and he sewed up his pants for him. I thought that was kind of hilarious. So he's embarrassed by it. His teammates are embarrassed by it, but Hibiki, no problem. Yeah, I think that she's basically either basically just oblivious to it, or just doesn't give a damn. That's my personal guess. So, everything all said by the end of the episode, Hibiki basically just, well, they briefly chat about the fact that she tried to kill him, and he's like, "Oh, you weren't serious about it." He just writes it off. I'm like, okay, interesting to say the least. Yes, it's not a bad episode per se. No. The episode kind of ends with the Fubuki arriving at the, like, basically they're on their way to that village. Not there yet per se. Like, oh, there's no enemies and the bridges are clear. Does this guy now report the fact that bridges were in fact destroyed? Apparently, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Yep. Oh, by the way, the new end-time sequence is called This is Japan, where it's a very hand-drawn sequence, and it's really good. Shows Sumire a lot in the closing title sequence, and shows her whole team in Komodos. Yes. No idea why. Excuse me. Shows them all, pretty much all of them in Komodos. Now, is this going to lead to anything? I don't know. Last one was simply just Team 7 just lying on top of the Thunder Train. And that was the whole thing. Just, yeah, Boruto and Kawanki on top of the Thunder Train. And just ran it for a while. Then, of course, drawn by Sadaru and Mitsuke. And that's pretty much the whole town thing. This one basically is a lot more thought out than the last one. I would say visually-wise, it's really good. And it's got more of a sequence to it. Maybe hints and maybe Susumu might play a role. But in the case Isaki, the guy who they just introduced a few episodes ago, he's like dropped. Yeah, he's like at Siren's side. And he's probably not going to make an appearance next episode. It's almost like the whole thing of shipbuilder stuff. That's like finish up this episode. It's almost like whoever was writing the last episode just was transferred to another series. And we gotta move on to something else. It's like either one, the producer of the series probably think we're spending too much time in this shipbuilder village and we need to move on, or two, the writer probably felt as though he was pulled off and do something else. That's probably my personal guess what happened. Okay, so yeah, that's the particular review. Next one is going to be a review for a Comic Corner. Okay, next video. Bye.